In the opening scene, tension crackles through the air as a defiant girl struggles against the grasp of a man, her eyes blazing with defiance. However, any resistance is quickly silenced by the harsh bark of the man's command and starts clapping the girl, saying, "The loser is the slave of the winner." Then we are met with our protagonist Mikagami. This is Mikagami, a seemingly ordinary 15-year-old Japanese boy thrust into the unforgiving world of the Coliseum, where strength reigns supreme and the weak are mere pawns in a deadly game. In the real world, Mikagami was your run-of-the-mill teenager, excelling mainly in the virtual realm of video games. Some might say he was more than just decent, considering his unbeaten streak stretched longer than a boss fight in an RPG. But just when he thought he was about to clinch another victory and call it a night, but fate decided to hit the pause button on his mundane existence. Suddenly finding himself in an unfamiliar dimension, Mikagami's shock was palpable enough to make even the most seasoned gamer drop their controller in disbelief. As Mikagami stood before the assembly of peculiar priests, led by none other than the enigmatic priest of all priests, Isekai'd, he couldn't help but feel like he'd stumbled into a scene straight out of a fantasy epic. I mean, seriously, those colossal milk mountains looming in the background seemed straight out of Jurassic World. Mikagami's disbelief mirrored the reader's as he tried to wrap his head around the surreal situation. And just when he thought things couldn't get any weirder, Isekai'd, with an air of anticipation, ordered her subordinates to assess Mikagami's skills. Meanwhile, Mikagami couldn't help but find himself distracted by Isekai'd's attire, which he found rather provocative. I doubt these ultra-huge, massive, gigantic milk mountains are real. But hey, in the world of manga, where even the laws of physics take a back seat, anything goes. With a furrowed brow, Mikagami couldn't help but voice his confusion, prompting Isekai'd to kindly elucidate the concept of skills in their peculiar world. She explained that when humans are Isekai'd into their realm, they're endowed with a random skill to aid them in their journey. However, a wave of panic washed over the eerie priests as they scrutinized Mikagami's skill set, revealing to their dismay that his sole ability was the much-maligned copy skill considered one of the worst in their realm. Unaware of the skill's reputation in this world, Mikagami couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement at the prospect of such a power. After all, in the realm of manga, where protagonists often possess the most outrageous and seemingly overpowered abilities, the idea of being able to copy anything seemed like a dream come true. Little did he know, his perception was about to collide head-on with the harsh reality of his new surroundings. Everyone falls silent, at a loss for words, but not Isekai'd. She was raging like a volcano and lets out some unholy words. It turns out that she spent the last of her precious jewels in the hopes of summoning a legendary fighter, only to be left with trash like Mikagami. She immediately orders him out of her sight to the dungeon so he can become a participant in the Coliseum battles. With a brutal kick, the guard sends Mikagami tumbling into the cold, dark confines of the prison cell, treating him like nothing more than discarded refuse. Anger bubbles within Mikagami as he protests against his unjust treatment, but his words fall on deaf ears. The guard's sneer is laced with contempt as he delivers the crushing blow. Mikagami's only skill is the weakest of them all, the dreaded copy skill. To the guard, Mikagami is nothing but a worthless burden, destined to be treated like scum wherever he goes. Mikagami thought what he meant by copy skill is shit. The girl in his cell bursts into laughter at Mikagami's misfortune. She introduces herself as Zulu, a fellow Coliseum fighter like him. She was messing around and now she got herself into this trouble. It's apparently obvious to her that Mikagami is new to their world, so she elaborates on the backstory of this manga. But Mikagami said he has nothing to offer in return. She praised him, saying he was not stupid. So this was like a gift for him and told him to listen obediently. Apparently there is an ongoing conflict between their nation and their neighboring country, a war that's persisted for several decades. As such, the country's greatest asset is the strength of its warriors, whose powers, in turn, are determined by the rarity of their skills. However, the endless battles have caused a severe shortage of such warriors, so the nation relies on summoning warriors from the human world, which comes at the cost of 1,000 precious gems. Basically, it's like a pay-to-win game where you buy a random card in the hopes of drawing the best item or character, but sometimes you end up with a Mikagami, and so you end up introducing your fist to your keyboard. Those with lowly skills like Mikagami are forced to become Coliseum fighters to entertain both aristocrats and commoners alike. Finally, Zulu reveals the central plot of this manga. Fighters in the Coliseum always engage in battles against opponents of the opposite gender, and the loser becomes a slave of the winner. The winner gets to clap the loser. Appalled by the manga's plot, Mikagami asks what happens when a man is defeated by a woman. In that case, a spell is cast to turn Batman into Catwoman and Catwoman into Batman, so the clapping is made possible. So in this twisted world, even the laws of nature can be bent to facilitate the cruel ritual of clapping. While Mikagami is left stunned by Zulu's cruel revelation, Zulu finishes off her explanation and laughs at Mikagami's reaction, saying it was the best she has ever seen. Mikagami asks Zulu why his kill is considered a weak skill. The reason why his copy skill sucks is that the user is unfamiliar with the skill they copy. It's like using a tool you've never used before. Finally, Zulu warns Mikagami about his likely opponent, affectionately nicknamed Torture Mary, once an esteemed knight. She devolved into a sadistic tormentor, deriving pleasure from defeating and humiliating summoned nobodies like Mikagami. I think Torture Mary reigns supreme as a mommy version of Hiragi Utena, a true sadist in every sense of the word. Despite the grim circumstances, Zulu reassures Mikagami that fighters are revived at the end of each match, alleviating his fear of permanent death. Initially overwhelmed by hopelessness, Mikagami finds himself sinking into despair, feeling as though his life has been irreversibly ruined. However, a glimmer of realization begins to dawn on him. In a moment of epiphany, Mikagami's perspective shifts. He starts to see his predicament as akin to a game, a challenge to be overcome, rather than an insurmountable tragedy. A confident laughter escapes his lips as he realizes that, just like in his beloved video games, he cannot truly die in the Coliseum. My boy's devotion to gaming matches my own admiration for a pair of gloriously thick thighs that I want to get squeezed like a watermelon between them. Zulu was shocked by his menacing laughter. He was giving some veteran aura that I also give when I see some thick thighs. Mikagami was saying to himself that he is just a high school student. I came with ordinary grade and ordinary physics, but when it comes again, he has never lost. As the anticipation builds before the epic showdown, a messenger approaches Mary to inform her that the battle will soon commence. However, his words falter as he witnesses a shocking scene unfolding before him. A sadistic Mia, her demeanor twisted with cruelty, stands over some level 7 Giat, mercilessly smacking a whip against their bodies. The reason? A single drop of sweat that had dared to tarnish the perfection of her armor. The man was terrified by the scene. C then agreed to go with the man and was saying that summons are a bunch of scums. They are all shit, and asked the man if her opponent was a summon. Mia tells she will make him her slave for the rest of his life. The man felt sorry for Mikagami. It's finally the day of his match in the Coliseum. Everybody was cheering. It was today's final match and introduces to the competitors. Mia, seated like a queen atop her throne, is carried into the arena by her 4 devoted slaves. It's as if she's conducting her own royal procession, with her flawless victory record serving as her crown jewels. With 20 wins out of 20 fights, she's not just a knight, she's practically the undefeated queen of the Coliseum. She has earned the title of the Knight of the Flames, Mary Landorat. Everybody was cheering for Mary. Then the host introduces to Mikagami a summon. Mikagami stands there with a mix of nerves and anticipation on his face. Meanwhile, the commentator informs the spectators that Mikagami was recently summoned, and his only ability is the copy skill, eliciting jeers and laughter from the crowd. Face to face with Mikagami, Mary's threats hang heavy in the air, her words dripping with malice as she promises to transform him into Caitlyn and bruise him after their battle. But despite her menacing demeanor, Mikagami remains unfazed. With the swagger of a seasoned pro, Mikagami strides forward, closing the distance between them with the confidence of a true G. With the audacity of a true challenger, Mikagami raises his voice, cutting through the din of the crowd with unwavering confidence. His declaration echoes through the Coliseum, a bold challenge to the reigning champion, that he'll be the one to defeat Mary, and he will clap the daylight of Mary. Everybody was shouting. Zaid was pissed by his top G declaration. Zulu was watching him from afar and thought about his intentions. A flashback reveals the moments before their battle of Mikagami's little chat with Zulu. He inquired about Mary's abilities, but Zulu asks what she will gain by this. Mikagami replies if he wins he will do one thing she desires. Intrigued by his proposition, Zulu agreed and informed him about Mary's 2 skills. Mikagami was exited hearing this. Alas, the battle begins. Provoked by Mikagami's antics, Mary immediately unleashes her skill, Purgatory Flame, against him. He narrowly evades her fiery attack. Mary got furious as Mikagami was dodging all her attacks. Mary continues her barrage of flame attacks his way. This time, he employs Mary's other skill, Backstep, to deftly dodge her onslaught. Though host praises Mikagami's skills, Backstep was Mary's second skill. The audience laughs at Mary as Mikagami was using her skill to sedge her attack. Mary's frustration mounts as she witnesses her own powers being turned against her. Mikagami seizes the chance and counters with his own flame attack. But his version is diminished in both size and speed, a pale imitation of the original. The audience started laughing at Mikagami. Mia doesn't bother evading his attack but takes a direct hit in order to belittle his efforts. As the flame settles, Mary appears with no scratches as her armor had fire nullification. Mikagami starts to worry, and Mary laughs at him. She mockingly questions how he dared to say he would clap her. A frustrated-looking Mikagami casts multiple purgatory flames this time, and Mary counterattacks with her own. Mikagami dodges them with his backstep skill, but again, his attacks have no effect on her. The arena is covered with flames. Pitying his efforts, Mary offers him an alternative, a chance to submit and plead for mercy. It's a proposal so outrageous, it's almost comical, kneeling naked and begging for mercy in the middle of a heated battle. Surely there are easier ways to concede defeat. Mikagami's eyes narrow as he sees through Mary's deceitful offer. He recalls Zulu's warning, learning that Mary extends this false offer to all her opponents, only to crush them mercilessly in the end. With a steely gaze, he confronts Mary, his voice laced with accusation as he questions her enjoyment of such cruelty. But instead of denial, Mary responds with chilling laughter, openly admitting to her sadistic pleasure in being ruthless to her adversaries. The revelation sends a shiver down Mikagami's spine as he realizes the true extent of Mary's depravity. In her, he sees not just a formidable opponent, but a true villain, a mommy version of Haradi Utena, whose sadistic tendencies know no bounds. With a mischievous glint in his eye, Mikagami decides to flip the script, turning Mary's own tactics against her with a daring proposition. It's a move so audacious, it's practically dripping with bravado, a true top G moment if there ever was one. He teals her if she gets naked and begs for her life. He's willing to grant her a modicum of dignity. As Mary's fragile ego is pricked by Mikagami's words, makes Mary's fragile little ego gets triggered, and she claims she will kill him. As Mary unleashes a torrent of flame attacks, Mikagami springs into action, countering with a rapid succession of her own skills. He gracefully dodges each fiery assault with precision and finesse, leaving the crowd in awe of his agility. Like Saitama executing serious side jumps, Zulu watches in disbelief as Mikagami effortlessly evades Mary's onslaught, her surprise evident on her face. Suddenly, she recalls her earlier conversation with Mikagami, where he had inquired about Mary's abilities. Mikagami thought about Mary's skill and comes up with a brilliant idea: teleportation. Mary was shocked how Mikagami was invading her attacks while using backstep consistently. She thought she as a warrior can also do this. But the fire started neutralizing by her armor. Mikagami comes behind Mary, saying she is an idiot. Without hesitation, he delivers a swift headbutt to Mary's back, a calculated move fueled by both strategy and a touch of sass, speculating that she probably has back problems from carrying all the weight up front. With lightning speed, Mikagami pounces on top of Mary, catching her off guard and pinning her to the ground. In a surprising twist, he reveals Zulu's weapon, which he had cunningly concealed all along, now poised threateningly at Mary's throat. A look of terror flashes across Mary's face as she realizes the tables have turned, her confidence shattered by Mikagami's unexpected maneuver. Frozen in place, she dares not move, fully aware of the deadly consequences if she does. With a deceptive sweetness in his tone, Mikagami leans closer to Mary, his voice a soft whisper against the backdrop of the raging battle. "Your skills are commendable, Mary, but let me tell you a secret: I'm the best when it comes to games," he murmurs, his words dripping with confidence. In a bold move, he reveals the intricate plan he had crafted for their fight, laying bare the meticulous strategy that had led to this pivotal moment. Mary's fury grows with each revelation, her pride wounded by Mikagami's cunning tactics. "How dare you," she seethes, her anger boiling over at the audacity of his plan. "You're just an amateur. How could you possibly hope to defeat me?" Mikagami's response is calm and collected, his gaze unwavering as he acknowledges her words. "You're right, Mary," he concedes, a hint of humility in his tone. "In the realm of warriors, perhaps I am an amateur. But in the world of games, I've never lost with a swift motion." Mikagami presses the knife against Mary's neck, instilling fear in her, threatening her life. Meanwhile, Zaid watches, growing increasingly furious. As Mikagami's menacing threat hangs in the air, he vows to kill Mary and publicly humiliate her by clapping her in front of the entire crowd. A hush falls over the spectators, stunned into silence by the gravity of Mikagami's words. Facing imminent danger, Mary pleads for mercy. her voice tinged with desperation as she realizes the severity of her situation. In a last-ditch effort to save herself, she concedes, willing to do anything to escape Mikagami's wrath. With a chilling smile, Mikagami calmly informs Mary that she knows what needs to be done. The crowd gasps in shock as the undefeated queen, Mary, is brought to her knees, stripped of her armor and dignity, and begs for her life to Mikami. She utters a heartfelt apology to Mikagami. That is some nice level 10 Isekai'd. Her words are laced with remorse as she promises never to inflict such suffering on another soul again. The host was shocked that Mary surrendered, and the weakest has just beaten the undefeated. Isekai'd lets out a loud yeet, enraged by Mikagami's unexpected win over her pawn. She was raging like a volcano. Zulu was laughing a corner by Isekai'd's reactions. Mikagami clenches his fist, saying to himself that he will never lose. As Mikagami leads the humbled Mary out of the Coliseum, she is humiliatingly leashed, a stark reminder of her defeat. Passing by, I can't help but notice Mary's ample assets. I mean, seriously, those are some huge milk bazookas. Zulu offers her congratulations on his impressive victory and obtaining his first ever trophy, with a smirk remarking her knife sure came in handy, didn't it? However, Mary's reaction is far from amused. Anger flashes in her eyes as she hears the weapon she wielded against her was Zulu's. Meanwhile, Zulu can't help but chuckle at Mary's expense, teasing her openly about her first defeat. She also adds that Mary wanted a strong man to take her virginity and should be grateful. Then, attention is turned to Mikagami, with a smirk, and let's not forget, Mikagami here is deemed the strongest. All matches will be won by him from now on. Consider yourself fortunate, Mary, you're his first woman. Mary's rage reaches a boiling point as she threatens to kill both of them, her fury palpable in the air. However, Mikagami swiftly intervenes, exerting a manly tug on her leash with a manly resolve. Much like the dog whisperer, his action quells her outburst, silencing her with a single gesture. His harsh treatment was inspired by Zulu, who counseled him on how to handle Mary. Taking a page from Zulu's playbook, Mikagami decides to play it cool with Mary, channeling his inner tough guy to put her in her place. She suggested that a girl like Mary is drawn to an overconfident top G. She tells him to give her a healthy dose of disrespect, because apparently that's the secret sauce to winning her over. And wouldn't you know it, Mary's cheeks start turning redder than a ripe tomato. Looks like Mikagami's newfound swagger might just be working its charm on our fiery little queen. Oh, and brace yourselves, folks, because those other cheeks are in for quite the wake-up call tonight. They're in for a clapping session hotter than a sizzling barbecue on a summer night. Lastly, Zulu informs Mikagami that he should proceed to the reception area to pick up the thing. As they approach the reception desk, they're handed a key to their private room, accompanied by a tantalizing surprise, a couple of love potions. The receptionist ensures them that the key is one of a kind, incapable of being duplicated. With a knowing smile, they explain that the room is reserved for a week, providing a sanctuary until Mikami's next bout in the Coliseum. Looks like they're in for a week of privacy, potions, and perhaps a few surprises along the way. The receptionist's explanation of the love potions adds a new layer of intrigue to their stay. These potions aren't just your run-of-the-mill elixirs, they're potent concoctions designed to ensure that the clapping happens, no ifs, ands, or buts. It's all about keeping things strictly business and preventing any funny business, like attempted bribes or dodging the inevitable. With a raised eyebrow, Mikagami absorbs this information, a mix of shock and amusement playing across his features. Possessed with clapping. Indeed, sounds like they take their rituals pretty seriously around here. But once the potion is administered, it's a different story. For the first 24 hours, their room becomes a sanctuary, sealed off from the outside world. And if they don't comply? Well, let's just say there's more potion where that came from until they get the message loud and clear. Despite the bizarre circumstances, they're granted a brief reprieve to explore the city, indulge in some shopping, and partake in other activities. It seems there's more to this world than just the Coliseum and its clapping customs. As the receptionist presents the love potions to Mikagami and Mary, Mikagami hesitates for a moment. The prospect of drinking a mysterious potion triggers a wave of insecurity within him, a reminder of his introverted nature and being a virgin. But then he recalls Zulu's sage advice about embracing his inner ruthless G. With a steely resolve, Mikagami takes a deep breath and chugs the potion in one swift motion, the liquid burning down his throat like a fiery elixir. With a defiant slam, he places the now empty bottle onto the table. Mary's reaction is palpable as she takes in the sight of Mikagami's bold display of confidence. Taken aback by his merciless demeanor, she can't help but feel a flutter of anticipation mixed with uncertainty. Encouraged by Mikagami's urging, Mary hesitantly reaches for her own potion, her movements shy and hesitant. With a deep breath, she obediently drinks it down, feeling the potent elixir course through her veins like a surge of electricity. With the love potion now pulsing through their bodies, they hastily make their way to find their designated room. As Mikagami remains unaffected by the potion's influence, Mary begins to feel its effects almost immediately, her demeanor shifting as the potion starts to stir feelings of intimacy within her. Frustrated by the sudden rush of emotions, she mutters to herself, questioning whether she's really going to succumb to the potion's power. Reminded of her noble lineage and the weight of her responsibilities as the only daughter inheriting the flame, Mary grapples with the notion of losing control. After all, she's been raised to uphold her family's honor and maintain her stature as a noble. Meanwhile, Mikagami, unaware of Mary's internal struggle, stands before her as just a summon with a mere copy skill. Despite his unremarkable origins, Mary finds herself begrudgingly acknowledging his presence. His face isn't all that bad, she admits to herself, though she's quick to remind herself of the stark contrast in their backgrounds. She knows she'll have to rise to his caliber, if you know what I mean, if she wants to maintain her composure in the face of temptation. Finally arriving at their Airbnb room, Mikagami and Mary find it living up to its promises. The space boasts a comfortable double bed and a private shower, a stark improvement from Mikagami's previous cramped quarters. It seems like fate has granted them a much-needed respite for clapping. But their newfound sanctuary is soon overshadowed by the potent effects of the love potion. Mikagami's heart begins to race uncontrollably, his body engulfed by an insatiable desire to, well, clapping. And as the figurative shadow falls over Mary's face, it's clear that things are about to take a steamy turn. With a commanding presence, Mikagami tosses Mary onto the bed, a menacing aura enveloping him like a shroud of darkness. Nervousness grips Mary as she watches his intense gaze. Mary's defiant scream echoes through the room as she vows never to yield to Mikagami's advances. However, Mikagami, consumed by the potion's effects and driven by his own desires, rips of Mary's clothes. In the privacy of their Airbnb room, Mikagami and Mary engage in a relentless rhythm of pounding that echoes through the night. It's back-to-back shows on Netflix over and over for days until Mikagami finally emerges from the room, looking like his energy has been completely drained. Like someone just sucked his nuts dry. Zulu greets him with a knowing smile, commenting on his prolonged absence from the outside world, 3 days locked away in their private sanctuary. Afterwards, she proposes a shopping excursion within the city and extends her assistance in preparing him for his upcoming opponent. While inside his love den, Mary looks like she's been through a marathon clapping session for 3 days straight. Seriously, someone get that girl a Gatorade and a medal. It's a wonder she's still conscious. And to think Mikagami, the 16-year-old virgin, went head-to-head with a seasoned MILF like Mary to pound town for 3 days straight. Stepping out into the city, Mikagami is captivated by the sprawling sights of Dangu, a fortress city that ranks as the second largest in the nation, surpassed only by the capital. However, Zulu warns him that the city is known to be shady. The two arrive at a pub where they continue their conversation. Zulu cautions Mikagami that Isekai'd is likely furious over his victory and will want to take him down in his next battle, ready to smash him like a bug under her heel. Mikagami's skepticism about Zulu's motives is understandable after all. Nothing in this world comes for free, especially when it involves taking down a formidable foe like Isekai'd. But as Zulu lays bare her own vendetta against the priestess, it becomes clear that they share a common enemy. And with Mikagami's promise of granting a wish, it seems he's inadvertently become entangled in Zulu's quest for vengeance. Talk about a plot twist. Will Mikagami uphold his end of the bargain and maintain his winning streak? Only time will tell in this high-stakes game of revenge and redemption. With unwavering confidence, Mikagami clasps Zulu's hand in a firm shake, sealing their alliance with a silent promise of mutual support and shared goals. As they exchange nods of understanding, Zulu wastes no time in divulging crucial information about Isekai'd's other pawns. Names like Catastrophe and Alice Cotton send a chill down Mikagami's spine, but it's the mention of Marl Baruch, a superwoman with unparalleled physical prowess,